Spinal adjustments provided by Dr. Chad Rolfson. The Spinal Tuning Chiropractic Center is a Des Moines area low flat fee per month unlimited chiropractic care practice. When life happens, just adjust. Schedule today at spinaltuning.com. Welcome to the Gospel Road. We are going to look at Jeremiah 17. It says, "The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron. With a point of diamond, it is engraved on the tablet of their heart and on the horns of their altars, while their children remember their altars and their Asherim, besides every green tree and on the high hills, on the mountains in the open country, your wealth and all your treasures I will give for spoil, as the price of your high places for sin throughout all territory. You shall loosen your hand from your heritage that I gave to you, and I will make you serve your enemies in a land that you do not know, for in my anger a fire is kindled that shall burn forever. Thus says the Lord, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart turns away from the Lord. He is like a shrub in the desert, and shall not see any good come. He shall dwell in the parched places of the wilderness, in an uninhabited salt land. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose trust is the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water, that sends out its roots by the stream, and does not fear when heat comes, for its leaves remain green, and it is not anxious in the year of drought, for it does not cease to bear fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately sick. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind, to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. Like the partridge that gathers a brood that she did not hatch, so is he who gives riches, but not by justice. In the midst of his day they will leave him, and at his end he will be a fool. A glorious throne set on high from the beginning is the place of sanctuary. O Lord, the hope of Israel, all who forsake you shall put to shame. Those who turn away from you shall be written in the earth, for they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living water. Heal me, O Lord, and I shall be healed. Save me, and I shall be saved, for you are my praise. Behold, they say to me, where is the word of the Lord? Let it come. I have run away from being your shepherd, nor have I desired the day of sickness. You know what came out of my lips. It was before your face. Be not a terror to me. You are my refuge in the day of disaster. Let those be put to shame who persecute me, but let me not be put to shame. Let them be dismayed, but let me not be dismayed. Bring upon them the day of disaster. Destroy them with double destruction. Thus said the Lord to me, go and stand in the people's gate, by which the kings of Judah enter, and by which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem, and say, hear the word of the Lord. You kings of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, who enter by these gates. Thus says the Lord, take care for the sake of your lives, and do not bear a burden on the Sabbath day, or bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem. And do not carry a burden out of your house on the Sabbath day, or do any work, but keep the Sabbath day holy, as commanded your fathers. Yet they did not listen or incline their ear, but stiffen their neck, that they might not hear and receive instruction. But if you listen to me, declares the Lord, and bring in no burden by the gates of this city on the Sabbath day, but keep the Sabbath day holy and do not work on it, then there shall enter by the gates of this city kings and princes who sit on the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses. They are their officials, the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Israel. And this city shall be inhabited forever. And people shall come from the cities of Judah and the places of around Jerusalem, from the land of Benjamin, from the Sheplah, from the hill country, and from the Negeb, bringing burnt offerings and sacrifices, grain offerings and frankincense, and bringing thank offerings to the house of the Lord. But if you do not listen to me, to keep the Sabbath day holy, and not to bear a burden, and enter by the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then I will kindle a fire in its gates, and it shall be devoured, the palaces of Jerusalem, and shall not be quenched. Jeremiah 17, talking about the Sabbath day. That is a discussion all on its own, depending on who you are. Sabbath day Sunday, Sabbath day Saturday. If you go through history, it's Saturday. But that's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at that day of rest. That day of downtime. See, this is very responsible. There's a reason why it's being talked about. We'll call it a mental health day. How's that? I mean, you read the Bible, if you're familiar with it, and you go to Genesis and the creation of time, God rested on the seventh day. You know, He created everything and then rested. We work every day and then need that day. Many of us are terrible at taking that. I will be the first to admit that I am. But it can be hard because of the expectations the world has put upon us of what we need to do. Or, if it comes to me, choices that I have made. And due to those choices, there were responsibilities that needed to be taken care of. And in trying to take care of them, one job was not enough. 2 jobs was not enough. I was having a conversation with someone this week, and we're just talking about responsibility. Who we are. What it is that we have to do. And I was talking about that, what I was dealing with over many years, trying to be responsible, wasn't easy. It also put a hindrance on having time off, having downtime, taking vacation. Again, right now, not many are taking vacation, but I don't really have something to take vacation for, a place to go. But then at the same time, I know that I need some time. As many people have mentioned to me lately, we'll call it a mental health day, because that's what it is. We need that time to recoup. It's just like our days, of why our days are split. And again, because of the expectations of our lives, and we are so busy, unless you start scheduling that in there, you will not get that break every day. I mean, if you think about it, your day is split. It's 24 hours. And it would be 8, 8, and 8. Simple math, right? 8 hours of rest, which is sleep. 8 hours of work. And then 8 hours of personal time. Which family, church, gym. I mean, put in there what it is that you need to do for you, that time for you. Now, here's the issue we're run into. Who has an 8-hour workday? Okay, yes, we have an 8-hour workday, but then we add on to that a half hour because you get a half-hour lunch. So it's an 8.5-hour day. It's an hour lunch. It's a 9-hour day. So now that 8 hours has just become 7, that personal time for you. Now there's the time driving to work, getting to work on time. And most times, most people, when you're going to work, you're going to be there anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes early. Well, now that 7 hours has just become 6.5. Now, I haven't put the drive time in there. Now, this is going to depend on where you live, on how long it's going to take you to get to work. Where I am here in the Midwest, here in Iowa, worst case scenario, pretty much anywhere you go, it's about a 20-minute drive, roughly. Which is then going to be 40 minutes. 20 minutes to work, 20 minutes to home. Barring anything else. So then at 7 hours, that just became 6.5 hours, that now you take 40 minutes off of that. Well, now it's down to 6. Well, now it's down to 5:40. 5 hours and 40 minutes. See how that day starts chipping away? Now, depending on your job, how many of you really just do an 8-hour day? Have we added on the overtime? If you're expected to do overtime, which could then be 1 to 2 more hours that day. Now, things seem to be a little different now because with us going through this whole pandemic right now, many people are working from home. I have a lot of friends that are working from home and still working from home. Now, there are others that are making their way back into the office, but not many. But I know the drives are getting busier because more people are on the road. But these are the things you've really got to think about when you're trying to budget time and figure things out. But then when you're doing that, making sure you're getting the time in there for you. You're getting the time in there for your family. You're getting the break for you that you need to then be able to deal with your family so you're not having issues. I mean, how many times do we have a bad day at work and you take it home? How many times do you have a bad day at home and you take it to work? We got to be able to separate those things and be able to relax. I have my bad days. We all do. But how do you cope with them? Now, if you got a coping problem, then maybe you need to talk to somebody to help you with that. But again, our days are not easy. But they are important. On the spiritual side, that Sabbath day, it's important because you're setting that day aside for God. But at the same time, it's important because you're setting that day away. You're setting it aside for you, for me. We need to be doing this for us. It's all upon building ourselves better, body, mind, and spirit. See, we're into that 5 hours and 40 minutes. I haven't even added the gym in there if you go to the gym. That's going to be anywhere from a 30 to 60-minute workout, which does not add the changing of clothes, changing into your gym clothes, the driving to the gym, the driving home. I mean, now that 5 hours and 40 minutes just became 4 hours and 40 minutes. Make it 4 hours and 20 minutes. Let's take that 20 minutes off there for getting ready. Again, see how these hours chip away. It's important how we need to pay attention. We need to be aware of, it's not just the financial pieces. It's not just being aware of where you're spending your money, but it's being aware of where you're spending your time. We talk about the budgets, the financial budgets, but what about the time budgets? You budget your time just like you budget your money to make sure you are getting what needs to be done, to make sure you are taking care of you, to keep yourself healthy, physically, mentally, because that's not just for you. That's keeping yourself healthy for those around you, for your family, for your friends that you're going to be around. But many times we forget about that because we're so busy pushing forward. Again, I completely understand because I do it. And I lose my days. And then, again, we can make choices in our lives that really take all the control away from us because of what we need to do, because of what needs to be done. Something we need to be aware of. Something that needs to be thought about. Something that needs to be discussed. It's very important for each of us. Because again, it's that piece that we're working with to chip away. Again, being better tomorrow than I am today. Being better today than I was yesterday. Strengthening myself, body, mind, and soul. I'm never going to be perfect, and I'm going to fail. But I'm striving to try and help myself to get to that better place, to be better for others. It's not easy. No one ever said it was. No one said the journey was easy. I mean, come on, I'm looking at a resume right now and man, I haven't touched these for so long, or even when I have, I really never really understood it. I have some people helping me out, just trying to keep things updated, because you just never know. Especially in today's world. I'm talking with a friend of mine that they're like, well, should I be working on my resume? Because I know they're talking about this at work, and I'm not really sure. Yes! Yes! You need to be updating your resume. You need to always have it updated. You need to always be ready, because you never know. Isn't that an interesting statement right there? Always be ready. Remember the Boy Scouts and always be prepared? I might be messing that up, but it's kind of like what's in my brain. But then always be ready. Yeah, we'll go spiritual for a minute because they talk about it in the New Testament. How many times did you hear about it? John and Paul, always be ready because we do not know the day, the time, or the hour that Jesus is coming back. Always be ready. Always be prepared. See, that's why you're working to better yourself in all these ways. Then you're always prepared. When you're always prepared, it's not a lot of work to try and get it figured out because you are always prepared. That is what that goal is. That is how we need to be working on different things to be ready. You lose your job tomorrow, you're ready to start looking for another job. Why? Because your resume is prepared. You are networking, you're talking with people, you're making connections. So you lose a job tomorrow, you're ready. And who knows, there might even been something that you were already talking with somebody about. You weren't really thinking about it, but now an opportunity has arisen. Always be ready. Always be prepared. Think about that. That's all I ask. Jeremiah 17 is what we were looking at today on the Gospel Road. Thank you very much for listening. And again, I've been doing these for years. And a lot of it is just because it helps me. It's a good way for me to get out. You know, it's kind of like that release. I mean, that's with me being in communications, being a communicator. At times I like to talk. I do. Surprise, right? Being in radio for 30 years. And certain things kind of get on my mind, and it's like an audio journal. And I've said it many times, I just kind of did these just for me. I put them out there, though, for people to listen, and people have found them, and people have listened, and people have made comments. Many over the years. Many downloads, many listens over the years, and I am grateful. So very grateful for that. So thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with others. If you just found it, you can actually subscribe and receive these through Google Play, through the Apple Podcast. It's also available when you go to Amazon Podcast and when you go to Spotify, pretty much iHeartRadio, wherever you listen, whatever platform you use to listen to your favorite podcasts, probably going to find this. In fact, I've got a couple other podcasts that I try to do my best to keep up on. Because, again, we have weeks. The last couple weeks for me have been completely crazy. Because 2 weeks ago we had our fundraiser for the station. And this week I was dealing with sun outages because we deal with a network, dealing with a satellite. Not expecting you to understand that. Just know that there's times out of the year the sun is not my friend. But yeah, you can even kind of follow along with all of those different podcasts if you go and check out my YouTube page, which is My Buddy Jimmy 101. You can subscribe to that. Find me on social media, Facebook and Twitter. I share stories all the time, jokes. People really enjoy it. Thank you for listening to The Gospel Road. Have a great day. God bless.